about to do the daily routine. I invite you to follow along, like, share, and subscribe to my channel, and participate in this meaningful routine of meditation, yoga, martial arts. Today, the main focus is on the meditation and a full 90-minute Ashtanga Yoga primary series. I might do some martial arts at the end, but I'm feeling kind of pain in the joints today after work and yesterday's routine. So, we shall see. My goal is to stay in shape and to lose this little belly I've started to grow. I'm a little bit out of shape. I'm in general shape. I have good endurance. I ride electric bikes around all day, all night for food deliveries, and I love what I do, and it keeps me healthy. I also weigh down my backpack, and I have a heavy backpack when I'm doing these deliveries, so when I'm walking around up and down stairs, I have this heavy bag, and that helps keep me healthy. But I need to sweat and have, intense workout sessions. I don't like to run. I still do sometimes. I really like this yoga. So I found that this yoga is not enough to keep off the belly fat that I'm trying to burn off. So that's what I'm working on now. You can hear the high school band next door in the background. That'll be our designated distraction today. But yeah, we'll jump right into the meditation, do the full 90 minutes of yoga, and then I might even just do a few rounds of this high intensity interval training workout. I've been trying to add a few every day. The last two streams I did just like 30 minutes of yoga, and then a few of the exercises. So we shall see. On that note, there's a lot of world events going on, a lot of chaos in the world, so hopefully this practice can bring you a little bit of peace and confidence to survive and have peace of mind. We do the practices with this aspiration to be a benefit to beings, not to harm them, to benefit them. And in our understanding, the best benefit is to actually, for beings to be liberated from cyclic existence. And we aim to become Buddhas in order to help beings to be free in this way. So generate those thoughts in your own way. So Venerable Choden has laid out this sadhana for us, helping us to generate these various mind states. And she starts by having us think about all of our potential, all the kind of positive qualities that we can develop. Infinite love, compassion, wisdom, skillful means. So imagine what it would feel like to be those qualities. Just let yourself be love, be wisdom, try to feel the expansiveness and peace in your heart, the wisdom that it takes to have this kind heart, to be unencumbered in any way, vast and expansive.
can take in everything that's happening in this world, reaching out to every being, human and otherwise, to benefit each one. So now imagine that these qualities of love, compassion, wisdom, skillful means appear in front of you in the form of Shakyamuni Buddha. So imagine this Buddha in front of you, in the space in front of you made of radiant, transparent light. He's sitting on a throne, above which is an open lotus flower and cushions of the sun and moon discs. This entire visualization is made of radiant, transparent light, but you're imagining a living being with a light body. So you feel yourself in the presence of the Buddha. The Buddha's body is golden in color. He wears the robes of a monastic. His right hand, with the palm down, rests on his right knee. The earth-touching mudra. And his left hand is in his lap holding a bowl of nectar. And this nectar is the medicine to cure our afflictions and all of our hindrances. And the Buddha's face is very beautiful. You can look at the Buddha's eyes. He's smiling, his eyes are smiling. He's looking at you with total acceptance. And as he looks at you, he's also encompassing all sentient beings. The Buddha's eyes are very peaceful, long and narrow. His lips are red and his earlobes are long. Imagine rays of light radiating from every pore of the Buddha's body. This golden light going out to all the parts of the universe, touching beings, carrying miniature Buddhas to help beings. And as they complete their work, they dissolve back into the Buddha. The Buddha is surrounded by the entire lineage of spiritual teachers, all the meditational deities, innumerable other Buddhas, Bodhisattvas, Arhats, Dakas, Dakinis, Dharma protectors. And at the side, near each spiritual mentor, is an elegant table, and on it are Dharma books. The sounds of the Dharma fill the air. And they're all so happy that we're here doing this together. Imagine their minds just blissful and peaceful, gazing at all sentient beings. So you imagine that actually you are surrounded by all sentient beings in human form. Your mother of this life is on your left. Your father of this life is on your right. Any people you have difficulty with, you imagine in front of you, facing the Buddha, keeping them there for protection. Family and friends are nearby. Countless strangers fill the space around you. And all of us are looking to the Buddha for guidance. So first we need to cultivate a sense of refuge. So we think of all the dangers of cyclic existence. Just think about how things are not secure. We run into dissatisfaction, often dukkha, often And people, all the beings around us, all the sentient beings around us, are also in the same boat, floundering in cyclic existence. And many of them have not met any kind of teachings that will help them out of this quagmire. So we generate compassion. And now think of the wonderful qualities of the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha, and generate this sense of confidence in them, in their ability to guide you out of all of these recurring problems. To take refuge, we need the causes, this kind of concern, this kind of alarm, fear type, and also this confidence and faith and the compassion. So it is possible, on the basis of your present life and mind, to free yourself from all of these undesirable experiences. So resolve to explore that possibility to the fullest. Feel great trust and confidence in the three jewels, and open your heart to rely upon them to guide you and others from all of these difficulties of cyclic existence and bring us to the peace, liberation, and full awakening. So as we do these refuge verses, starting here, now we're on the top of page 21, we'll be taking refuge in the Buddha, and we imagine actually leading all of the sentient beings around us and going for refuge. And we visualize white, radiant light flowing from all of the Buddhas, the spiritual mentors, the Bodhisattvas, all of these holy beings flowing into us and all the beings around us. And this light completely purifies all of our destructive karmic imprints and afflictions. And it also brings all the realizations of the path. So put your hands in prayer position. Namo Guru Vya, Namo Buddhaya, Namo Dharmaya, Namo Sangaya, Namo Guru Vya, Namo Buddhaya, Namo Dharmaya, Namo Sangaya, Namo Guru Vya, Namo Buddhaya, Namo Dharmaya, Namo Sangaya, Namo Guru Vya, Namo Buddhaya, Namo Dharmaya, Namo Sangaya, Namo Guru Vya, Namo Buddhaya, Namo Dharmaya, Namo Sangaya, Namo Guru Vya, Namo So feel that you've come under the protection of the three jewels. And now we turn our thoughts to others and think about how much we depend on other beings for everything that we have, everything we know, everything we use, everything we enjoy. Our food, clothing, resources of every kind. These come due to the efforts of others. Our knowledge, talents, good qualities, these too are developed due to the kindness of others. And our ability to practice the Dharma certainly depends on others who brought the teachings to us over the millennia by generating realizations in their mind and teaching. So this is a very great kindness, all of these things we want to bring to mind. Our innermost wish is to be free from suffering. And this is the case for everyone else as well. We want to be happy, and all beings want to be happy. And like us, they encounter many difficulties, problems, sufferings. And usually, actually, their difficulties are more so than our own. Not always, but often. And when we examine our capacity to help beings, we find that we're actually quite limited. And we know from our practice that if we can reduce our anger, our attachment, our ignorance, our various faults, and if we can increase all of our good qualities, we're really going to be in a position to benefit beings. Imagine if we had just this generous heart that gives so easily, takes delight in giving, the kind of ethics that doesn't harm, has that just ingrained fortitude, loving kindness, compassion, wisdom. We'll be in excellent position to help beings by having our good qualities developed. And if we develop them fully, like a Buddha does, then we'll be able to be of the greatest benefit to beings. So we generate this altruistic intention in order to be able to benefit beings most effectively. So as we take refuge and generate bodhicitta, imagine that light is flowing into you from all of these Buddhas and holy beings, and it's flowing into you and all the sentient beings around you. So we're on the top of page 22. I take refuge until I have awakened in the Buddhas, the Dharma, and the Sangha. By the merit I create by engaging in generosity and the other far-reaching practices, may I attain Buddhahood in order to benefit all sentient beings. I take refuge until I have awakened in the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha. By the merit I create by engaging in generosity and the other far-reaching practices, may I attain Buddhahood in order to benefit all sentient beings. I take refuge until I have awakened in the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha. By the merit I create by engaging in generosity and the other far-reaching practices, may I attain Buddhahood in order to benefit all sentient beings. So imagine the Buddha is so pleased with your altruistic intention, and a replica emerges from the Buddha, comes to the crown of your head, melts into golden light, and flows into you. Feel that you and the Buddha have become inseparable. close to the Buddha, and allow your mind to be transformed and inspired. Let go of all conceptions you have about yourself. Let go of any self-denigrating thoughts. Let go of the concept of inherent existence and meditate on emptiness. At your heart appears a small Buddha made of light. He radiates the light of wisdom and compassion in all directions throughout the entire universe. And this light transforms all sentient beings into Buddhas and all environments into Pure Lands, which are places where all the circumstances are conducive to practicing the Dharma and generating realizations. So imagine this. You've transformed all sentient beings into Buddhas and all environments into Pure Lands in your imagination. But why hasn't this become a reality? We sentient beings have bias, prejudice. We lack love, compassion, and joy. So now we want to wish ourselves and others to have all of these qualities. So we contemplate the four immeasurables. We do this to reinforce our own felt experience of love, compassion, joy, and equanimity for everyone. Friends, strangers, enemies, relatives, people you don't like, people you don't trust, anyone, everyone. So as we say those four immeasurables, you want to listen to yourself say the words and contemplate as you recite. We'll pause between each of the four. May all sentient beings have happiness and its causes. May all sentient beings be free of suffering and its causes. May all sentient beings not be separated from sorrowless bliss. May all sentient beings abide in equanimity, free of bias, attachment, and anger. So, in order to achieve what we've just been aspiring towards, we need to purify our negativities, and we need a lot of merit. We need to abandon things and adopt things. So when we do the 7-limb prayer, this encompasses all this abandoning and adopting of things. So we'll pause after each line. And you want to have your hands in the prayer position for this. Reverently I prostrate with my body, speech, and mind. So imagine yourself and all the beings, the sentient beings around you, making prostrations to all the holy beings in front of you in the field of merit, repeatedly prostrating. And present clouds of every type of offering, actual and mentally transformed. So imagine offering everything beautiful to the Buddha and all the holy beings. You can fill the sky with offerings. Make it very lovely and beautiful. You can think of flowers and fields and just everything that you love. Offer to all the holy beings. You can do this repeatedly. I confess all my destructive actions accumulated since beginning this time. So now we do like a glance meditation of the four opponent powers. So for this, bring to mind something that you wish to purify, some fault or mistake. Bring it clearly to mind and generate regret for that. And then the other prana powers are taking refuge in generating bodhicitta, which we're doing in the practice. The practice itself will be the remedial action, but make a determination not to do this action again. And rejoice in the virtues of all holy and ordinary beings. So think of common sentient beings like ourselves, the holy beings, and delight and rejoice in all of the virtue created by any kind of being. Let go of any jealousy, envy, and just rejoice in the goodness in the world. Use your own life experience. Think of things, people that you want to rejoice. And then the next verse. Please remain until cyclic existence ends. So now we offer a double dorje. This symbolizes long life. And we offer this to the holy beings. We do this requesting them to live long, to always be a part of our life. And you can do this multiple times in your imagination. And then the next verse. And turn the wheel of Dharma for sentient beings. So again, make this offering. You're offering with both hands this beautiful 1,000-spoke Dharma wheel, golden in color. Offering this to the teachers and the Buddhas to guide you and to continue to teach the Dharma. And then the seventh one. I dedicate all the virtues of myself and others to the Great Awakening. So now we steer these limbs toward full awakening of ourself and all beings. And now we'll offer the mandala. Here we imagine everything beautiful in the universe, offering it to all the holy beings with the wish that they will continue to teach and guide us and that we can generate realizations in our mind. This ground anointed with perfume, flowers strewn Mount Meru, foreland, sun and moon, imagined as a Buddha land and offered to you. May all beings enjoy this pure land. The objects of attachment, aversion, and ignorance, friends, enemies, and strangers, my body, wealth, and enjoyments, I offer these without any sense of loss. Please accept them with pleasure and inspire me and others to be free from the three poisonous attitudes. Idam Guru Ratna Mandalakam Niryatayami. So imagine all the holy beings are just delighted and they receive your offerings. And the offerings melt into light and dissolve into them. And these all absorb into the Buddha's heart. And then immediately he radiates light back to you, filling your body and mind. And this light inspires you to accomplish the path to full awakening. So in order to progress along the path, we need to develop realizations. And in order to do this, we need the inspiration of the lineage of spiritual mentors, especially your principal teacher or your root guru, who is the one who has touched your heart deeply. If you don't have a specific teacher, just think about Shakyamuni Buddha, or maybe you have a connection in your mind with His holiness. And we make this request on page 25. Glorious and precious Root Guru, sit upon the lotus and moon seat on my crown, guiding me with your great kindness. Bestow upon me the attainments of your body, speech, and mind. And so then, at this point, you imagine that a replica of your teacher in the aspect of the Buddha emerges from the Buddha in front of you. And it comes to sit on a lotus and moon disc on the crown of your head, facing the same direction as you. So then this Buddha on the crown of your head is going to act as an advocate for you to request inspiration from the entire field of merit as we continue with the request. And we're doing the long one on page 26. Buddha, unequal teacher and guide, venerable protector Maitreya, successor, superior Sangha prophesied by Buddha, to you three Buddhas and Bodhisattvas I make request. Buddha, head of the Shakya clan, the foremost guide, peerless in expounding emptiness, Manjushri, embodiment of the Buddha's complete wisdom, exalted Nagarjuna, best of the superiors who sees the profound meaning, to you three crowning jewels of clear exposition I make request. Atisha, upholder of this great vehicle, who sees the profundity of dependent arising, Drome Rinpoche, elucidator of this good path, to these two ornaments of the world I make request. Avalokiteshvara, great treasure of Abuja's compassion, Manjushri, masteress flawless wisdom, Tsongkhapa, crown jewel of the snowy land sages, Losangdrapa, I make request at your feet. Holder of the white lotus, embodiment of all the conqueror's compassion, guide benefiting migrating beings in the land of snow mountains and beyond. Sole deity and refuge, Tenzin Gyatso, at your feet I make request. The eyes to whom the vast scriptures are seen, supreme doors for the fortunate who would cross over to spiritual freedom, illuminators whose wise means vibrate with compassion. To the entire line of spiritual mentors I make request. So imagine all of the figures in the field of merit melting into light and dissolving into you. Into the central figure of the Buddha in front of you. All the Buddhas, the Bodhisattvas, the Arhats, Dakas, Dakinis, Dharma protectors, all of these beings melt into light and dissolve into the central figure of Shakyamuni Buddha. And now Shakyamuni Buddha embodies the three jewels. And this Buddha absorbs into the Buddha on the crown of your head. And then as we recite the Buddha's mantra, try to let your mind be very open and receptive. Imagine this white light flowing into you from the Buddha on the crown of your head. It purifies all your negativities, all your obscurations, and it generates within you the realizations of the stages of the path. So we'll recite the Buddha's mantra together. Tayata Om Mune Mune Maha Mune Soha. Tayata Om Mune Mahamunaye Soha. Tayata Om Mune Mune. 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 Mahamunaye Soha. Now, re-establish the visualization of Shakyamuni Buddha above the crown of your head, made of golden, transparent, radiant light, a living being. And this Buddha melts into light and dissolves into you. Your body, speech, and mind become inseparable from those of the Buddha. And then we'll make the dedication prayers, starting on the page that we're on in the sadhana, which is 27. Due to this merit, may we soon attain the awakened state of Guru Buddha, that we may be able to liberate all sentient beings from their suffering. May the precious Bodhi mind, not yet born, arise and grow. May that born have no decline, but increase forevermore.
Excuse me.
For a meditation session.
Okay.
Where it talks about
Sorry, buddy.
it's embedded in this practice, but
So we'll jump right into the yoga. After I clean up this room,
we do the practice.
so I'm gonna clean and then we'll do the yoga.
Akira. This ain't no middle mall. You love yourself. It's not what it's not. It's not what it's not. You love yourself. It's not what it's not. It's not what it's not. Now, when you go deeply into the nature of selfishness, what do you discover? You say, I love myself. I seek my own advantage. Now, what is the self that I love? What do I want? And that becomes an increasingly ever deeper puzzle. Now, I've often referred to this. When you say to somebody else, I love you, it's always rather disconcerting to the person to whom you say that. If you imply that you love them with a pure, disinterested, and holy love, they automatically suspect it as being a little bit phony. But if you say, I love you so much I could eat you, that's an expression, it's a way of saying to a person, you attract me so much that I can't help it. I'm absolutely bowled over by you. I'm gone. And people like that. Then they feel they're really being loved, that it's absolutely genuine. But now, I love you so much I could eat you. Now what the devil do I want? I certainly don't want to eat the girl in the sense of literally devouring her, because then she'd disappear. But I love myself. And what is me? In what way do I know me? Well, it suddenly occurs to me that I know me only in terms of you. See, when I think of anything that I know, that I like, then it's always something that can be viewed as other than me. I can never get to look at me, real me. It's always behind. It's always hidden. And I really don't know well enough to know whether I love it or not. Maybe I don't. Maybe it's an appalling mess. But certainly the things I do love and that I want, from a selfish point of view, when I really think about them, they're all something else. That's in a way outside me. You love yourself. It's not what it's not. It's not what it's not. You love yourself. It's not what it's not. It's not what it's not. Now we saw that there is a reciprocity. A total mutual interdependence between what we call the self and what we call other. That's the open roof. And so, if you're perfectly honest about loving yourself, and you don't pull any punches, you don't pretend that you're anything other than exactly what you are, you suddenly come to discover that the self you love, if you really go into it, is the universe. You suddenly come to discover that the self you love, if you really go into it, is the universe. You don't like all of it. You're selective about it, as we saw in the beginning. Perception is selection. But on the whole, you love yourself. It's not what it's not. It's not what it's not. You love yourself. It's not what it's not. It's not what it's not. You love yourself. It's not what it's not. It's not what it's not. You love Because, you see, the two conceptions of God are different. Our conception is of the boss man, the king. Theirs is of the cosmic centipede, with the many arms, who does not have to think how to make the world, how to make the world, how to make the world, or rather to act the world, how to make the world, how to make the world. That would be an insufferable weakness. We may think it rather wonderful when St. Thomas tries to explain that God is fully aware of everything that happens, and in every detail is willing each single vibration of any mosquito's wing. But when you really begin to think about it, that approaches intellectual paralysis. God heard the embattled nation shout, God starve the England, and God save the king. God this, God that, and God the other thing. But God said, God, I've got my work cut out. When somebody in India suddenly announces that he's God, nobody accuses him of blasphemy or of being insane. They say simply, congratulations, at last you found out. They don't immediately request a miracle. As you see, if we get across someone who says, I'm God or I'm Jesus Christ, they say what they said to Jesus Christ in the first place. Come on, look at the stones he made bread. And you know, he used to wangle out of it by saying, the wicked and deceitful generation seeketh after a sign, and there shall no sign be given. The Hindu would say, but there is no point in changing it. It's going the way I want it to anyhow. Only really and truly, there is not this idea of God the technician, but rather the power of omnipotence. The power of omnipotence. The power of omnipotence is not to be able to do anything, but to be doing all things, whatever it is that's going on. The power of omnipotence. The power of omnipotence is not to be able to do anything. Be able to do anything is not to be able to do anything, but to be doing all things. The power of omnipotence. The power of omnipotence is not to be able to do anything. Be able to do anything is not to be able to do anything, but to be doing all things. The power of omnipotence. The power of omnipotence is not to be able to do anything. To be able to do anything is not to be able to do anything, but to be doing all things.
Okay, we're going to get started with the yoga.
Guy. You see, the black sheep of the family. It's always ours. Akira. Let go. use the analogy of weaving, where the threads go underneath and join on the back in a way that is not seen on the front. So you might say in the unconscious, although I don't particularly like that word, because it makes it seem as if it was something rather dead. But on the unconscious side of life, as on the back of the weaving, on the back of the embroidery, there are connections which are not published. 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 Now, in the second part of the theme was the web as mutuality. When I discussed the way the existence of a web, the existence of cloth, or anything like that, depends on a mutual support of the walls of the roof. And this miraculous thing occurs that when the things support each other, being comes into being. Cloth comes into being. So in exactly the same way, our world is a manifestation of relativity. And this requires a balance, combination, a relationship of opposites in every domain of life. And although these opposites are explicitly different, even antagonistic, they are implicitly one. Implicitly one. They are implicitly one. And that's the secret. There are connections which are not published. A relationship of opposites in every domain of life. There are connections which are not published. There are connections which are not published. A relationship of opposites in every domain of life. There are connections which are not published. They are implicitly one. And that's the secret. See, there are these two secrets that we went into. The connection between what are supposed to be separate things and events, and the mutual unity between what are manifestly, that is to say, openly, for purposes of publication, opposites. Now, I'm going to take two other aspects of the web. There are connections which are not published. A relationship of opposites in every domain of life. There are connections which are not published. There are connections which are not published. A relationship of opposites in every domain of life. There are connections which are not published. They are implicitly one. And that's the secret. The web is a trap, like the spider's web is a trap for flies. Also, the lovely embroideries are worn by women as traps for men, from a certain point of view. From a certain point of view. And I want to consider the web as something playful. You see, there are so many ways of looking at it. And you will find that all these ways are right. But what we need is the fullness of the view. From a certain point of view. Of the view. From a certain point of view. What we need is the fullness of the view. From a certain point of view. From a certain point of view. What we need is the fullness of the view. From a certain point of view. From a certain point of view. some people can see the web as a trap and get stuck with that. There are people to whom existence is simply hateful. They see it as nothing but a ghastly mistake. The Lord really erred when he created this world, because he arranged it in such a way that everything lives by eating something else. And what I'm doing is I'm describing a certain point of view. From a certain point of view, I'm not exactly philosophizing, I'm describing a point of view. You can look at life in such a way that the whole thing is this ghastly mistake. For example, there is no such thing as genuine kindness or love. Everybody is really pretending that they're loving other people in order to get some advantage. And indeed, there is a point of view which occurs in certain forms of paranoia, where people don't seem to be real. They are mechanisms. And you can think that out quite intensely with a good deal of intelligence. After all, if you start from a good old Darwinian or Freudian basis and see that man is a material machine and that the consciousness of man is simply a very involved and complicated form of chemistry, well, then this awful mechanical things, these Frankenstein that everybody is, they come around and they say, well, I'm alive, I'm a human being, I have a heart, I love, I hate, I have a problem, I feel. And you feel like saying, come on, you're just a monster. And you put on the civilized act, because really you're just a set of teeth on the end of a tube. What we need is the fullness of the view from a certain point of view. From a certain point of view. What we need is the fullness of the view from a certain point of view. From a certain point of view. What we need is the fullness of the view from a certain point of view. From a certain point of view. What we need is the fullness of the view from a certain point of view. From a certain point of view. Which you call your brain or sort of alleged mind. And this thing is really basically there for two purposes. One, to be cunning enough to get something to eat, to put down the tube, and the other, you know what, Mr. Freud, and everything else, you see, can be construed as an elaborate, subtle way of pretending that that's not really what you want to do, but you do. But you put on a great show. Now, some people, according to this view, get mixed up. They so repressed that what they really want to do, to eat, to screw, they get involved in higher things that are the masks for these activities. And think that that's the real purpose of life. And then they become what's called neurotic. Because they get involved in being pure camouflage. That's what's called escaping from the facts. Not looking at life, not looking at reality correctly. Now, this is a very strange thing, you see, that it is partly true that the universe, so far as its biological aspect is concerned, is this weird system that lives by everybody eating maintain what is called order and civilization is that various species make agreement that they won't eat each other. They'll cooperate, and so be an enormous gang which can beat down the others. So the human being is the most successful so far of this gangster arrangement. We are the most predatory monsters on Earth, and we have cooperated to assault the fish and the vegetables and the chickens and the cows and everything, you see. Only we do it by not letting our left hand know what our right hand doing. In other words, ladies and gentlemen, unless gentlemen happen to be prone to going hunting as a sport, they don't see their fruit killed. They don't see the slaughterhouse. And so what you get at the butcher in the market is steak, is a thing in its own right. It has nothing to do with a cow. It gives the thing shape up and so, and it looks as if it might be like a banana or something like that, and nobody worries. And when a fish is served up, it does indeed look like a fish, but it's not the squiggly, squirmy fish that comes out on the end of the fishman's line. When you really fish, you realize that the fish doesn't like it very much. But this gangster arrangement, we are the most predatory monsters on Earth. So let me repeat, but this gangster arrangement, we are the most predatory monsters on Earth. So let me repeat, but this gangster arrangement. There is that absolutely extraordinary side of things that is really terrifying. And so, let me repeat, the illustration I used of the horse, where one side of it is the cut and eat, teeth that chew. And the opening side of it is like James Joyce's Ulysses, the girl who says yes, and I said yes. She wants to be absolutely established by her man, see? So it's open. But now comes if we take the dark view of things, the horrible view. Excuse me if I go into some rather grisly details, but have you... To spread joy, you have to have it. To impart delight, you have to be more or less delightful. And to be delightful is not some factor of trying to make yourself look delightful. It is to do things that are delightful to you. Do things that are delightful to you. Do things that are delightful to you. You become thereby delightful to others. It is to do things that are delightful to you. Do things that are delightful to you. Do things that are delightful to you. You become thereby delightful to others. That's to say, people who are interesting are people who are interested. Any person, for example, who is constantly thinking about all sorts of other things and other people and so on, because they're fascinating, becomes a fascinating person. But a person who doesn't think about anybody else, and who's got very little going on inside their skull, is boring. So, in other words, your engagement with the external world, the more you are involved, the more your personality is enriched. Do things that are delightful to you. Do things that are delightful to you. Do things that are delightful to you. You become thereby delightful to others. Do things that are delightful to you. Do things that are delightful to you. Do things that are delightful to you. You become thereby delightful to others. But if you try to enrich your personality by taking a course in how to win friends and influence people, or how to be a real person, you'll become Mr. Washout. You'll be like somebody if you're trying to get a good nutrition by biting his nails, then the fingers, and then half an arm gone. saying to the bee, "Like my honey?" Bee says, "Wow." But then that means that the bee has to be. It has to go on living and all the trouble it takes to go around collecting honey and praising other bees and organizing itself and doing that dance which tells the other bees where there's more honey. All that stuff to do. The flower was deceptive. Life is a drama, and a drama is a deception. A big act. When you peel an onion and you don't really understand the nature of an onion, you might look for the pit in the center, like any ordinary fruit has. But the onion doesn't have a center. It's all skins. So when you get right down, there's nothing but a bunch of skins. You say, well, that was disappointing. But of course, you have to understand that the skins are the part that you eat. Well, in rather the same way, you find and you explore yourself and your motivation. You go through and through and you try to find out that thing which really is genuine. That thing which really is genuine. Well, in rather the same way, you find and you explore yourself and your motivation. You go through and through and you try to find out that thing which really is genuine. That thing which really is genuine. That's the why in Zen, discipline. They give you koans which require a perfectly genuine act. An act of total and absolute sincerity. And people knock themselves out trying to do this thing. But they always know that the master's going to catch them. Because he reads their thought. You know that story of von Kleist about the man who had a fight with a bear, and the bear would read his thoughts? So that the only way of hitting the bear was to do so not on purpose. Because the bear would know in advance. So it's the same in working with a Zen master. You have to do the genuine act, not on purpose. But since you're put in a situation where it's rather formal, and you're supposed to do it on purpose, you're stuck, see? So you explore the onion, and you go in, and then you find, well, it's all a deception. Well, in rather the same way, you find when you explore yourself and your motivation, you go through and through and you try to find out that thing which really is genuine. That thing which really is genuine. Well, in rather the same way, you find when you explore yourself and your motivation, you go through and through and you try to find out that thing which really is genuine. That thing which really is genuine. say this dog has no bark. That's another thing. So you see, always, the meaning of the word is in relation to the context. Now, in exactly the same way, the meaning, as well as the existence of an individual person, an organism, is in relation to the context. You are what you are. Sitting here at this moment, in your particular kind of clothes, and with the particular colors of your faces, your particular personalities, your family involvements, your business involvement, your neuroses, and your everything. You are that precisely in relation to an extremely complex environment. You see, it takes two. We could have so much fun, but it takes more than one. You see, it takes two. We could have so much fun, but it takes more than one. See, if a given star that we observe didn't exist, you would be different from what you are now. I don't say you wouldn't exist, but you would exist differently. You might say the connection is very faint, is something that you don't ordinarily have to think about. It's not important. But basically it is important. Only you say, I don't have to think about it because it's there all the time. See, for example, the floor is underneath you all the time. Some sort of floor, some sort of earth. And you really don't have to think about it. It's just always there. It's always around. If you become insensitive, you stop thinking about it. But there it is. So in the same way, our subtle interdependence with, mind you, it's not just our plain existence. It's the kind of existence we have is dependent upon all things. Also our plain existence, but that gets way down. The fundamental thing is existence is relationship. In other words, if my finger up here is all alone, and the wind doesn't move, and nothing touches it, it starts knowing that it's there. But if something comes along and does immediately it's aware that it's there. So, you see, it takes two. We could have so much fun, but it takes more than one. You see, it takes two. We could have so much fun, but it takes more than one. But in this witness, what we call duality, well, you can see, can't you, how duality is fundamental. It takes two. other words, if we give this dewdrop image, if we put it into a linguistic analogy, we would say this: words have meaning only in context. The meaning of any word depends upon the sentence or upon the paragraph in which it's found. So that if I say this tree has no bark, that's one thing. And if I say this dog has no bark, that's another thing. So you see always that the meaning of the word is in relation to the context. Now in exactly the same way, the meaning as well as the existence of an individual person, an organism, is in relation to the context. You are what you are. Sitting here at this moment, in your particular kind of clothes, and with the particular colors of your faces, and your particular personalities, your family involvements, your business involvements, your neuroses, and your everything. You are that precisely in relation to an extremely complex environment. You see, it takes two. We could have so much fun, but it takes more than one. You see, it takes two. We could have so much fun, but it takes more than one. You know, if a given star that we observe didn't exist, you would be different from what you are now. I don't say you wouldn't exist, but you would exist differently. You might say the connection is very faint, is something that you don't ordinarily have to think about. It's not important. But basically it is important. Only you say, I don't have to think about it, because it's there all the time. See, for example, the floor is underneath you all the time. Some sort of floor, some sort of earth. And you really don't have to think about it. It's just always there, it's always around. If you become insensitive, you stop thinking about it. But there it is. So in the same way, our subtle interdependence with, mind you, it's not just our plain existence, it's the kind of existence we have is dependent upon all this. address that you have changes 1/3 addresses per hour. Nothing stays put. The hills are shadows and they flow from form to form and nothing stands. felt unbelievably insecure. See? They had a terrible time assimilating this idea. Now, do you see what it involves? To assimilate a really new idea, you have to do quite a flip. For example, there's some people whose number systems only account for quantities. 1, 2, 3, many. So they don't have any concept of four corners to a table. See, a table has many corners, and a pile of pebbles is, in that sense, equivalent in manyness to the four corners of the table. Now they have difficulty, you see, in beginning to assimilate the idea of counting through and numbering all those corners or all those pebbles. But we've done that. And so to us that is perfectly simple. But imagine the kind of mentality, the kind of person to whom that is not simple at all. And now in exactly the same way, there is here what I'm trying to explain. A new idea that most people don't assimilate. And that is the idea of the total interdependence of everything in the world. The Buddhists in Japan call it Jiji-muge. Jiji-muge. Between event and event, there is no block. And they represent this imagistically as is underneath you all the time. Some sort of floor, some sort of earth. And you really don't have to think about it. Because it's just always there, it's always around. If you become insensitive, you stop thinking about it. But there it is. So in the same way, our subtle interdependence with, mind you, it's not just our plain existence, it's the kind of existence we have is dependent upon all this. Also our plain existence, but that gets way down. The fundamental thing is existence is relationship. In other words, if my finger up here is all alone, and the wind doesn't move, and nothing touches it, it stops knowing that it's there. But if something comes along and does, immediately it's aware that it's there. So, you see, it takes two. We could have so much fun, but it takes more than one. You see, it takes two. We could have so much fun, but it takes more than one. You know, but in this way, what we call duality, well, you can see, can't you, how duality is fundamental. It takes two. But duality is always secretly unity. Unity. Duality is always secretly unity. 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 Take the contrast between the words we use, explicit and implicit. The very valuable words. What is explicit? What's on the outside? Let's say how we come on publicly. Explicitly, we are thus and so. We have a fight. We're in competition, say in business, explicitly. But implicitly, we've worked this out. We've agreed in a secret way that nobody knows about that this competition is extremely valuable to both of us. Take it politically, for example. Let's take the situation with Russia versus the United States. Explicitly, in public, this has to be a big fight. These two ways of life, these two ideologies are opposed. They say, no, we're... But behind the scenes, it's all been carefully worked out. You bet it has. That this opposition has to happen. Because our economy depends on it. And their economy depends on it. And everybody knows this, who's smart. But a lot of people who get taken in by the propaganda, and they should be taken in because that makes the thing work. It's crazy. But that's the way it goes. It's crazy. But that's the way it goes. It's crazy. But that's the way it goes.